I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill.
No, fear is everything. Yeah, like if there was one concept that I would suggest to people to take a daily confrontation with is fear. The problem with fear is that it lies, right? So fear tells you, hey, you know, if you say that to that girl, she's gonna know she has you, you know, and she'll never really be attracted to you if she knows how much you attracted to her. Don't say that, no. How we get her is when she walks by, ignore her. Yeah, for me, the daily confrontation with fear has become a real practice for me since about three years ago. I went skydiving in Dubai, right? And skydiving is a really interesting confront with fear, right? What happens is you go out the night before and you take a drink with your friends and somebody says, yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow. And you go, yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. And you go, yeah. And everybody goes, yeah, right? And you go home by yourself, you're like, right? You're like, well, yeah, I mean, they was drunk too, right? So maybe they not, maybe, I mean, we don't have to go. We don't have to do it. So then that night you're laying in your bed and you just keep, and you're terrified. You keep imagining over and over again jumping out of an airplane and you can't figure out why you would do that, right? And you're laying there and you have the worst night's sleep of your life, but you still have the hope that your friends were drunk, right? So you wake up the next day and you go, down and you say where you were going to meet and everybody's there. You're like, oh, shit. Right? So you get in the van and you don't know that your friends had the same night that you had because they're pretending like they didn't. They're like, yeah, man, my uncle's a Navy SEAL and this is going to be great. I've been looking forward to this. And you're like, oh my God. And your stomach is terrible. You can't eat and everything, but you don't want to be the only punk who doesn't jump out of this airplane. So you get there and then you have this safety brief. And you're standing there, and the guys will tell you, well, if the chute doesn't open, what's going to happen is you're doing, well, why the hell, what could happen? So you do a thing, and what you do is your first jump, you're attached to a guy who is going, he's going to walk you out. So you go, and you get there, and there's an airplane, and nobody's stopping. Everybody's still going. So you get onto the airplane, and you're sitting there, and it's extra because you're sitting on some dude's lap, some stranger. So, you're trying to make small talk. So you be jumping with people all the time, huh? So, and then you just want to make sure, you got kids, right? You got people you need to see, right? You just want to make sure he's serious, right? So you get in there. So everything's normal. So you fly and you go up to 14,000 feet. And you notice there's a light. It's red and it's yellow and green, right? So right now the light's red. So then you start thinking at some point the light's going to go green, but you don't know what's going to happen. Right? And you wait and it goes yellow and the light goes green and somebody opens the door and in that moment you realize you've never been in a freaking airplane with the door open. Terror, 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 right? So you go and then, if you were smart, you sat in the back so you don't go first, right? And then people start going out of the airplane and you go. And the guy walks you up to the end of the thing and you're standing and your toes are on the edge and you're looking out down to death. And they say, on 3. And they say, 1, 2. And he pushes you on 2 because people grab on 3. And you go, Arr! And you fall out of the airplane and in 1 second, you realize that it's the most blissful experience of your life. You're flying, right? It doesn't feel like falling, right? It's like you actually are kind of held a little bit by the wind, and then you start falling, and there's zero fear. You realize that the point of maximum danger is the point of minimum fear. It's bliss. It's bliss. And you're flying. And then 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 40 seconds, and you have enough time to just kind of be like, oh, shit, that's that building. I saw like that one. Oh, you can see the ocean. Right? You start doing all of that, and the lesson for me was, why were you scared in your bed the night before? What do you need that fear for? Just don't go. Why are you scared in your bed 16 hours before you jump? Why are you scared in the car? Why could you not enjoy breakfast? What did you need that? The fear is fear of what? You're nowhere even near the airplane. Everything up to the stepping out, there's actually no reason to be scared. It only just ruins your day. You don't have to jump. And then in that moment, all of a sudden, where you should be terrified is the most blissful experience of your life. And God placed the best things in life on the other side of terror. On the other side of your maximum fear are all of the best things in life. Yeah, that was my experience with skydiving and fear.
I realized that to have the level of success that I want to have, it's difficult to spread it out and do multiple things. You know, it's in order to be world class, and I've made a decision. I want to be world class, and it takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on the level that I want to make movies. You know, I was Star Wars when I was young. I sat in a movie theater and watched Star Wars, and I just couldn't believe that movie made me feel like that, just floored and just stunned by the creativity. And I'm realizing that in order to move people in that way, in order to touch people in that way, you really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity. The concept of improving lives runs through the center of everything I do. And then I realized that the way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself, right? So with that, every morning when I get out of the bed, you know, I haven't fixed everything in the world yet, so there's always something to do. And in this film, I read an interesting quote for the Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He said that good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle, right? And I thought that was, you know, I knew that was profound, and I paused for a second, and I said, all right, what the hell is a ladle? Right, so then, you know, I touched it on my iPad, it's ladle. Oh, it's like a big spoon. So trying to empty the ocean with a soup spoon, you know, as the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world. So for me, I'm really driven by continually trying to elevate my mind and elevate my spirit and care for my body, and to be able to love as many people as effectively as possible with this mystery of life that I've been given.
You have to be able to be vulnerable in front of anybody. You know, you have to be comfortable looking silly, you have to be comfortable making mistakes, and you have to break the thing inside of you that doesn't want people to see, right? Because as soon as you allow people to see, all of a sudden you get access to things that you didn't realize you had access to, right? For example, like a thing I used to do is when I was probably 18 or 19 years old, I got in touch with those blocks. The camera hates emotional blocks. Like, you put a camera in somebody's face and they're uncomfortable about delivering emotion. It looks fake and you feel it. You immediately know it's not real, right? Especially look at the size of this screen. And in a shot, that whole screen could be just your eyes, right? So it's like you can't hide discomfort, uncertainty, so you have to be able to get comfortable.
I gotten probably 2 weeks into
my preparation for the film, and my father was diagnosed with cancer. So we just started talking about love, time, and death. And it was some of the most open and powerful conversations that we'd ever had. And they gave him 6 weeks. And he lived for 4 months. So about 3 months into the 6 weeks, I go to see him one day and he said, "Man, this shit is embarrassing." And I said, "What, Dad?" He said, "Man, you tell everybody you gonna be dead in 6 weeks. 3 months later, you still hanging around." Laughing is the elixir, and that was another thing that my father taught me. He was joking all the way up to the end. Like, laughing, you have to be able to laugh at everything. And for me, the beautiful part is that's my natural color on the spectrum. I naturally go to comedy, and when I'm looking at something, I'm always trying to find why that's funny. And it's been really, really helpful in this experience, and even just this point in my life. Remember to laugh, and spend time with people that make you laugh. Like, that is hugely important.
As a child, my parents always told me you could be whatever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to do. And that office, that position, the highest office on the face of the earth, it was something I heard my parents saying it, but I didn't totally believe it. Yet I went out in the world and I carried myself and I held my head high and I stood there and I looked people in their eyes and I talked to people as if I was deserving of everything that this planet has to offer. I really want to say to children out there and to people who are watching, Confucius said one time, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right." And I want you to keep in your heart, just know that you can.
The greatest thing in my career has been the constant commitment to putting something in the world of value, not putting something in the world that makes me look hot. So I think as long as you can stay focused on delivering your art and delivering yourself and delivering your energy and delivering your ideas for the world to be better.
I have to show up at work with the right attitude and with the positive energy. And I actually had a t-shirt made that said positive energy is a part of your job description. Right, so the idea that I want to show up with the right energy, I want to show up, we're all here, even now we're all here, we're trying to feed our families, we're trying to have a good time, we're trying, this is an important part of our lives. Our time is all that we have. So to me, it's hugely important to deliver positive energy in a way because it's viral. So if I come with positive energy, then someone else is going to pick up on the positive energy and you're going to take it home to your families. And, so for me, it's just hugely important to approach everything and everybody at every turn with the most positive, loving kindness that I can generate.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period. We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. We grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because
we were becoming
right. Something greater. There's a concept that
I don't want to be an icon. I want to be an idea. You know, I want to represent an idea. I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent magic, right? That you're in a universe and 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 only equals 4 if you accept that 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 is going to be what I want it to be. You know, and there's a redemptive power that making a choice has, you know, rather than feeling like you're at effect to all the things that are happening. Make a choice. Like, you just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way. It's like, it's water. It wants to move and go around stuff, you know. So for me, I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. And I just believe that. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. If I can put my head on it right, study it, learn the patterns, and you know, it's hard to put into words, some real metaphysical, esoteric nonsense, but I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be.
Difference between depression and joy, right? And I think it's purpose, right? It's like when you wake up in the morning and your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose. If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. And I think that kind of purpose, that like to live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your church, to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it.
Yeah.
Period. It's that simple.
I know who I am, and I know what I believe.
I know who I am, I know what I believe.
That's all I need to know.
And that's all I need to know. So from there, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what happens is we make the situation more complex than it has to be.
Because we're looking for complexity. There's got to be
Absolutely.
something complex to understand.
It can't be that easy.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I definitely found that wanting to be an actor stems from wanting to be somebody and wanting to say something to people.
The only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. Right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, you might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple, right? So
let's go back to the question about what if people block me out. It's going to be two options.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get back in, or I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball. You know, he got two. Ooh, God, he hustled, he grabbed that one. That was going to be out of bounds, but he saved it back in. It's like the commodity that I see the majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
The separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts for people who are trying to excel, who have dreams that want to do things. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. There's no easy way around it. No matter how talented you are, your talent is going to fail you if you're not skilled. You know, if you don't study, if you don't work really hard and dedicate yourself to being better every single day, you'll never be able to communicate with people.
I'm motivated by fear.
Fear.
You know?
Fear of what?
Fear of fear. I hate being scared to do something. I hate that feeling of the feeling that I had before I had a meeting with Quincy Jones, because it was really Quincy Jones and a guy named Benny Medina and Jeff Pollack came with the idea for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I hated being scared, you know, like that I didn't want to even take the meeting. There were opportunities during when I my first year as a rapper. Bill Cosby and the people on the Cosby Show had seen my music video and called me to
be a character
to come and try out for the Cosby Show. And just every time it was set up, for some reason I couldn't make it.
The fear of fear.
The fear. I just hated that being scared to do something. And I think what developed in my early days was the attitude that I started attacking things that I was scared of. I believe, and I learned very young
from parents.
From my parents, absolutely, that you don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. There will not be one brick on the face of the earth that's going to be laid better than this brick that I'm going to lay in this next 10 minutes. And you do that every single day. And soon you have a wall. And soon you have a wall. And I think psychologically, the advantage that gives me over a lot of people that I have been in competition with in different situations is it's difficult to take the first step when you look how big the task is. The task is never huge to me. It's always one brick. My father owned, it actually was an old bakery. When I was growing up, my father was an electrician and a refrigeration man. We would install supermarkets. You see the long freezer cases in supermarkets. We would install those long freezer cases and all the lights. That's what we would do every summer. So this one year, my father had his shop, and he decided for whatever reason that he wanted a new wall on the front of his shop. So he tore down probably about 16 feet high and probably about 30 feet long. He just completely tore the wall down, and my brother and I had to dig a 6-foot hole.
For the foundation.
For the foundation. We were mixing the concrete by hand. a year and a half. We were building this wall for a year and a half. Every day after school, we would come and mixing concrete, putting it in the hole, doing it. And it was just myself and my little brother. And I remember standing back, looking at that wall saying, there's going to be a hole here forever. There will never be anything but a hole here.
That's right.
And a year and a half
I don't
later,
have that many days.
I know. A year and a half later, we laid the final brick. Yeah. And my father stood back with my brother and I know he planned this. He says he didn't, but I know he had been planning this and writing this for his for the past 2 years. But we stood back, we looked at the wall, and he looked at me and my brother and said, "Now don't y'all never tell me that you can't do something."
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. You know, while the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working. For me, it has been to be that guy that does what people say can't be done. You know, and I think it started with trying to please my mother and trying to please my grandmother, and they always wanted higher for me. They always wanted more for me, and it got to the point that I wanted to be something. I wanted to be somebody, and it made me choose certain roles. It made me turn down certain roles. There is more than an image that I want to project. I want to be the person that is the first person there and the last person to leave. That's who I want to be, because I think that the road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I definitely found that wanting to be an actor stems from wanting to be somebody and wanting to say something to people.
A certain delusional quality that all successful people have to have. You have to believe that something different than what has happened for the last 50 million years of history. You have to believe that something different can happen. And I say to my friends all the time, and we laugh about it, I truly, honestly, as I sit here before you right now, as honestly as I can say it to you, I truly believe that I could be the president if I wanted to. And as bizarre as that may sound to people that have traveled the path before me and to people who actually know how difficult it is, foolish Will Smith honestly believes it's sitting here.
Anytime you inject extremes into the universe, you can expect extremes to come back. I think that one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was don't let your successes go to your head, and don't let your failures go to your heart.
Do you follow that?
I try. No, it's absolutely a difficult, even more so now with my wife and my children expanding into it, the scope of it is actually becoming more difficult to manage. The things that, almost in a spiritual sense, the things that you attract to yourself. And also, if you think about it in terms of altitude, the higher you go, the harder it is to breathe. There's less oxygen. And I think in that phrase, what I get from that with Marlon Brando, what happens is, if you think about it in terms of mountain climbing, the higher and the higher you get, the less oxygen there is, the harder it is to breathe as you get to this successful space. And the first thing people want to do is get down. And what you do by getting down is self-destructive. And I'm just working hard to make sure that I don't allow the lack of oxygen to dull my appreciation for the gifts I've been given.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity, Qatar. Now, do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice.